Welcome to the Referrals Podcast, the show designed to help everyone from the solopreneur to the Fortune 500 company win the referral game. If you want to build a company with an army of ambassadors and raving fans who speak highly of you and refer you willingly, you are in the right place. And now, here is your host, Michael J. Maher.
Photon Rainbow, people. Photon Rainbow. What does Photon Rainbow have to do with referrals? You're going to find out in today's episode. I cannot wait to share with you the power of Photon Rainbow and the power of events. So today we are going to dive deep into one man's story of literally changing an industry when it comes to getting referrals. So that's what we're going to go into today. Today is one of my favorite days. I'm not going to tell you what day it is. You're going to have to guess what day it is. But I'm going to tell you right now that I have to give a shout out to Kara Heron, who just finished the March Magic Challenge. If you weren't in the March Magic Challenge, you missed out. It was a referral a day, a referral tip a day, so you get a referral a day. It's one of my favorite months. It's one of my favorite challenges that we do. And the thing that Kara said was that momentum is a beautiful thing. She got momentum in her business. She got momentum with some relationships, and it led to referrals. One of those was a $2.2 million 80-acre farm that she is selling, and probably already under contract. So I love that, Kara. Love it. Thanks for listening to Referrals Podcast and joining Jen and doing our March Magic Challenge. Here's my call to action for you, the listener. Join Jen. Like, are you a member of Jen yet? And if not, are you crazy? Like, what's going on? Like, this is like 230 plus episodes where we've said join Jen, and there's probably been 10,000 referrals exchanged in the group over the last few years. So join gengen.com. We have a live Zoom mastermind coming up for Jen only on April 7th. We have another mastermind coming up that's very special on April 14th. And then we have a work session called Jen Fire, the fire session, that is April 21st. So we have lots of great things that are going on. If you want to skip ahead and register for the free mastermind that we're doing the first Thursday of every month, go to gengenmastermind.com right now. Thank you so much for being here today on Referrals Podcast. It's my honor and my pleasure to introduce our guest today. I'm so excited to introduce this guy to you because it's so different. It's so different. It's like shining a sun on a valley that has been dark for years. So Mark Kelly was born and raised in Albuquerque, New Mexico, one of 16 first cousins who all grew up like brothers and sisters and are still very close today. I love that. He has an MBA out of the University of New Mexico. He married his college sweetheart, Maggie, Mark and Maggie. Gotta love that. We have they have two boys, Jasper, who is 4 years old, and Trace, who is 1 year old. Their biggest dream right now is to own a second home in Colorado. He has traveled through India to become certified in yoga. If you're going to get certified in yoga, you might as well go to India, right? And go straight to the heart of the matter. And he loves to hike barefoot. In fact, hiking barefoot is his religion, so to speak. He got into the solar industry after working 3 part-time jobs and wanted to do something more meaningful. He resolved to do something that would let him spend more time outdoors and somehow also protect the environment. Right after this realization, he met some solar reps at a networking event. And here he is today. Let's please welcome Mark Kelly to Referrals Podcast. Welcome.
All right. Thank you, Michael.
Man, you're one of my favorites in my classes too. This is an overdue podcast. Like, cool. You bring a great energy, and I don't know how there's a solar tie to that, but you bring a great energy to our event mastery and our other sessions that we've done and the other things. And you've become a full-fledged member and ambassador of the Generosity Generation. And yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, right. I appreciate you.
So Photon Rainbow, right? We got to get to that at some point. But okay. I think we start with, tell us about your business and industry that you're in, just so that we have some familiarity. If you were in real estate or lending or financial planning or insurance, we probably wouldn't do that because we've had a lot of those guests on. But you're our first solar expert, business owner, salesperson that we've ever had on. So I'm interested in your business in general, how you got started and worked your way up, and the industry as a whole.
Sure. Yeah. Well, like in my bio, like I said, I met a couple guys and they just pitched it as, hey, it's flexible, it pays good, it's awesome for the environment. And I had already had that energy out there to find something like that. And I just walked right up to them and I said, hey, how do I get going? And 3 days later, I was wearing a bright orange polo because that was the color of the company. And I was knocking doors and they just said, knock, knock, say this. And then you set appointments. And I was at that company for about a year. I wanted to get some different experience. So I jumped to another one, didn't like it, jumped to another one. And then I happened to know someone who started a local company because these are all national companies that I work for. And he just said, hey, you know what? I normally don't do this. I would normally hire you as a rep, but do you want to be our sales manager? Because I was crushing it at the time. So I did that for a couple of years, and then I decided to go it on my own, make more money, have more control over the brand, over the customer experience, over the equipment I can offer. And I wanted to, I'm pretty proud of the name. I wanted to.
I love the name. And so how did you come up with Photon Rainbow? We're going to cut to the chase, right?
Okay.
We're going to the opening to the chase, literally. You don't want to bury the lead, right? So it's like, let's explain Photon Rainbow.
Well, I wanted to do something that sounded cool, but had to do with light, but wasn't like solar, because I don't know if you know Seth Godin. He's brilliant, I think. But yeah, cool. So he talks about naming it to where someone can't already define what it is, so that way you're free to define it for them. And I was just like, searching words that had to do with it, and photon makes perfect sense because it's literally the particle of light that makes the solar panel and make electricity. But I knew it was like going to be photon something, and we played around with photonics or like stuff like that. And then I literally remember I'm just waking up and I open my eyes and there's like this moment of peace, and all of a sudden it just rainbow somehow just popped in my head. And I don't know, I just thought that's cool enough for me. Let's roll with it, man. It sounds awesome.
Photon Rainbow, baby. I'm telling you, it's like there's going to be kids after this episode. There's going to be kids named Photon Rainbow. It's such a great name. And I have to tell you, from my background, my undergrad is in mathematics, but I took a lot of physics courses, and I was always just infatuated with photon. I mean, the fact that light doesn't only have like wave properties like sound, right? It actually has physical properties too. And that there is a physical element called a photon just was mind blowing to me. Of course, you couldn't see it, right? But it was, and I have to tell you, throughout the years, that thinking has led me to believe that there is something called a cogiton. And a cogiton, and I don't want to get, cogito means to think, right? To think, I think before I am. Cogito ergo sum, right? Which is Descartes. Rene Descartes said that a long time ago. But a cogiton would be, and I think I just made that word up. But I believe there are particle aspects to our thoughts. I believe that when we think something, that it doesn't just put waves out. I think it puts physical particles out. And it's like an energy thing, right? Like you were saying, you woke up and you're like, I think I would like to do something environmentally and along the sales and outdoors. And you meet two guys at a networking that isn't, I've been to 5,000 networking events. I've never met a solar person at a networking event.
Wow.
Not even one.
Huh.
So it's like, and then of course the rainbow makes total sense with the different phases of lights and
still light
mixed with water, right? So very cool name.
Thank you.
So all right, so how is sales normally done in the solar industry? And one thing I need to say about you that is different than most solar people too is people need to know about Mark Kelly is that he handles the nation. So if you want solar in Montana or Florida or whatever it may be, even though he's based in Albuquerque, he can help you anywhere. And he's a solar expert. So you have a solar question, a question about solar panels, he's the guy to go to. And that's the truth, right? So what's the industry typically, what's the sales process like? How do they do it?
I mean, the vast majority of people are canvassing, knocking doors. And if they're not doing that, they're either buying leads. So there's a few websites where, they just have enough traffic and they're generating interest, and then $50 a pop, you can buy someone's name and address that's expressed interest. Or they're doing Facebook ads or Google ads. It gets really expensive. I know in my town, some people are doing like BNI or, other networking stuff, but yeah, it's mostly door knocking and paid stuff.
Yeah. So it actually sounds very familiar to real estate.
Yeah.
In real estate, the normal way to do it is join a networking group, or if you can, usually the realtor spot is full, or you door knock, cold call, right? Or you buy leads from, instead of a solar site, it's going to be Zillow or realtor.com or somebody else who sells leads, right?
Right.
So, so very similar from a background. So how did you find 7L?
Okay, cool. So I set up my LLC, and I'm sitting there thinking,
Photon Rainbow.
Photon
You gotta
Rainbow.
say it. Don't ever don't ever say I set up my LLC. I set up my company. And I have to tell you, Seth Godin is the one who gave me that advice. He said,
Oh, cool.
anytime you're talking about your book,
Okay.
don't say the book. Don't say in this or in it. Always say in 7L, the 7L book, right? And so, and why? It's branding, and it just reconfirms it, and it gives it importance, right?
All right. Yeah. So I set up Photon Rainbow. Woo! And so I'm like, all right, next step, how we gonna get business, And I've always loved referrals. I mean, I still get referrals from people that I signed up 3 or 4 years ago. A couple months before I did set up Photon Rainbow, I went back and looked at all my numbers and analyzed, and it turns out about half of my leads were coming from referrals.
Wow.
It's the best, honestly. So I literally go, okay, how am I going to get better at referrals? Start with books. I love reading books. I consume books like a madman. I just go on Amazon books and I type referrals. I think you were the first or the third or something, and it popped out instantly. The 7 levels of communication going from relationships to referrals. And I was like, okay, cool. Start with that one. I'm not even going to look at other ones. I was just like, that's like, you nailed the title, And so I listened to it all the way through. And then I said, all right, cool. Like everyone can resonate with that story. I didn't know it was going to be in a story format. And I'm such like an information guy. I'm like, oh, just tell me what I got to do. But then I instantly just identified with, being in a slump sometimes, and how Rick was feeling in the beginning. And so then I just went to the website, right? Like immediately after I finished the book and put in for coaching, and they matched me up with Arnell, who's awesome. I still get coaching with Arnell because that was October of 2020. So I've been, Arnell's been my coach for almost a year and a half.
Nice.
And he's amazing. Thank you so much, Arnell, for all the energy and time and effort you've put into me and my business, and now my team. So that's how I found you guys.
That's very cool. So why does the 7L system seem to just resonate with you?
I think leading with love and appreciation and generosity. Tommy says it really well, that is how you do your business in alignment with your values. Because a lot of times in sales, we're kind of selling our soul. We feel like we're bothering people, we're being obnoxious, we're disturbing people's day. I mean, I got used to that, knocking doors. I ended up liking knocking doors, but still, it's like you said it that in in the summit back in the fall. Why market to strangers when you can talk to your friends? It's so much more fun. Like, we'll just jump to a realization that I had with our event. It's like, man, if I can throw these big events and it's so much fun and that generates enough business for us, like, that's my dream job right there.
Yeah, I love that. So let's jump into that, right? So you took event mastery class, right? So now you're rolling into, event mastery. And so tell us about your first event, and you just tell it from your perspective. How many were invited, and where, and what kind of event? Was there a charity involved, that kind of thing?
Okay, yeah. It took us, we kept pushing it back because in New Mexico, there's a mask mandate, and a lot of people on my team got COVID over the holidays, which kind of sucked. And so I wanted to do the Thursday before Valentine's Day, but then we decided nah, it's not COVID safe. But the mask mandate was going to be lifted on March 5th. So we scheduled it for March 22nd. And we picked that day just to do it outside anyways, because that was the Tuesday after the first day of spring. And I'm super proud of the name. We called it A Grateful Plateful. And we actually came up with that as a team, which I thought was super fun.
So that's a nugget right there. We need to share that, right? Is if you have a team or you have a bunch of partners who are putting on the event, let's say you're a realtor, but you're also doing it with a mortgage professional and an insurance agent and a warranty rep, and is all come together and come up with the name. It doesn't have to be I Love You Latte or Thanks a Latte or Spring Fest or Summer Fest or anything else. It can be whatever you make it. I love A Grateful Plateful. I mean, that's a very attractive alliteration there.
Yeah, I hope other people pick it up and run with it. It made sense for us because we did it at a place called Sawmill Market. There's a district down here that used to be a lumber yard, so it's called the Sawmill District. And now there's a food court there. Really cool, really high end, clean looking place. It's only a couple years old, and I was really trying to find somewhere central to town that had a dedicated event space, and the Sawmill Market had that. So it was cool. They, we paid a rental fee, and then we had to buy a $25 gift card per RSVP. And so we were literally buying people dinner because they came in, they got the gift card, they went and found their food, and then they came back. So we wanted to, I forget the exact process, but a Grateful Plateful just made sense because we were literally buying people dinner.
A plate full of food, right?
Yeah.
And so how many did you invite?
Man, probably invited over 100.
Okay.
That's one thing we need to do better is we're gonna use Greenvelope this time because I guess we can use it as a team, because what we did this time is each team member had their own Evite, so that way they could send out the invitations and get it back. I ended up putting a QR code on my home screen on my phone, and I had my old door knocking badge on my hip, and I taped up a QR code to it, and I had it on this like retractable line so I could like have people scan it. Yeah. But that ended up that's one thing we need to do better is have it more consolidated and keep everything in one spot. So
right, the RSVP system, right? We should have one place for all RSVPs to come in. But you have different people inviting. The RSVP needs to track back to that in some way, right?
Yeah.
But it needs to all go to one place, like a whiteboard or an Excel file, or like you said, Greenvelope, or your CRM, that kind of thing. We do that with Join GenGen, right? When people go to Join GenGen, the first thing is, how did you hear about it or who invited you, right? So I love that. I love that. So invited over 100, and how many RSVPs did you get?
We had 90 RSVPs.
What a percentage. I mean, what a great percentage. And why do you think your percentage was so high to people saying yes?
That's a good question. I don't know. The two people on my team, the three people on my team, they started off thinking their network was a lot smaller than it really was. I think Amy said she had like 6 people in her database. And then after a couple months of doing the memory jogger, just brainstorming with her, she ended up with almost 30. Same with Shane. But yeah, that's a good question. Maybe because it was going to be a cool event. I don't know. I mean, $25 at this cool Sawmill Market.
Yeah.
We had cool prizes too.
How did you do the invitations? That also matters, right? Were you if you just sent out an Evite, I'm guessing you wouldn't have just got 90, right? How did you do the invites besides Evite?
So then I went through I did a sequence with Tommy a Zoom where he took me through his sequence. And so everyone that had already RSVP'd, I kind of took them out of the spreadsheet. Everyone who had not RSVP'd, I used Gmass, which is like an add-on to Gmail, and it sends it to people individually. But it looks like it only went to them. And you can make it so it puts their first name and everything. That got me I think I blasted that out to about 60 people. And that got me another 30.
Yeah.
RSVPs.
What was the name of the app again?
Gmass.
Yeah, MASK, right?
No, I think it's GMASS.
Oh, GMASS. GMASS. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what did you had 90 RSVPs, which is a tremendous number with so few invites. sounds like you did a good job of confirming. And then how many attendees did you have?
So I had over 110 because the market made me buy the gift cards ahead of time. And I bought 90 thinking, okay, we'll probably have a percentage of the RSVPs actually show up. And the event was 4 to 6, but then we ended up extending it 4 to 7 because a lot of people were saying it's going to be hard to get there by 6. And I think by 5:15, we were just out of gift cards. So I called the manager and I said, can we buy more? I'd given them a heads up. I was like, hey, just in case if we need more, what do we do? And they're like, just let us know and we'll bring more up. So I went and bought 20 more. And then I came back upstairs and I just instantly they were gone again. So I was like, crap. but that ended up being enough. I didn't have anyone on my team or anyone ask, hey, can we get our gift card now? So it ended up being the perfect amount. But I think a lot of people, since it was $25, they were sharing gift cards. A couple comes, they split that. So I think we had about 130-ish actually show up, which was blew my mind. Because when we first started this, I was like, hey guys, this is our first event. If we have 25 people, well, let's count that a victory. All right. Because we're just learning how to do this.
Exactly. I mean, 130 at your first event is outstanding. The nice thing that you did is you did it at a somewhat public place as well. So, you might have caught a few that were there already, right? It's like, hey, there's a free meal pass over here, and it's one of those where that's like an I love you latte. I could invite, let's say I invite my top 150 and I invite 150 and only 25 of my people actually show up, but there were already 20 in the Starbucks. So I really bought for 45 people. I just met 20 former strangers who are now friends, right?
Awesome.
So it's kind of like, I think you got a little bit of that too here, maybe, is that it just momentum was on your side, right? And the more people attract the more people. So I love that. And, before we go into lessons learned, let's talk about results, right? So what were the results? What ended up, first of all, it was a raging success only because, if you just ended up with 130 attendees and you didn't get any referrals, it'd still be a success because you can do so much with 130 people. You already have your own community, essentially. So what were the results from the event?
Okay, so we had people go and get their food when they came back. That's when we gave them the door prize entry form. Our sponsors were a real estate agent, a dentist, and a toe doctor. And so on the questions, we had, are you or anyone interested in solar, investing in or buying or selling or investing in real estate, dentistry or a new dentist, or medical pedicure or foot related care. And we had 40 people circle yes or me to solar, which I'm super happy with.
Yeah. It's like, when's the last time you got 40 leads in one day?
Never.
Yeah. That's outstanding. Yeah. And it's not just leads. These are people you have shaken hands with and broken bread with.
Yeah. I was gonna joke and say maybe I could have bought 40 leads in a day, but even then I couldn't have, because when I was spending $3,000 a month on Facebook ads, that I probably maybe got 30 a month.
Yeah. So 40, love that. Yeah. And all right, so before you get into the referrals, talk about the sponsor process a little bit, right? In Event Mastery, we kind of talk about, what do you need to do here, right? You need to have kind of 3 or 4 elements. You've got to have entertainment, education, sponsor, charity, right? And that's the core of Event Mastery. So talk about sponsors, right? Okay. Talk about what you did for sponsors.
I didn't start asking for sponsors until 3 weeks ahead of time.
which
And
everybody needs to know is very common with a first event, because you're thinking, am I going to have anybody at this event? And I don't want 5 sponsors and 0 people. So this is a very common thing that happens, is once you get some momentum, then it's, oh, now I can get some sponsors, right? Because I've got people coming. So
yeah, and it kind of crossed my mind being like, oh man, I wonder if no one wants to sponsor. Because by the time I started asking, I only had like 35 RSVPs, and I didn't want to like inflate it and then not meet expectations. So people were kind of like, meh, yeah, let me think about it. Probably not. And then all of a sudden we had 50, and so our project manager works for a real estate guy, and he said, yeah, sure, I'll sponsor. And then my dad wanted to sponsor. He's the dentist. And then the toe doctor is one of my ambassadors, who I'm super grateful for, Adam Cornejo. He's called the Toe Doc, and he's been one of my best ambassadors. And so by the time we had like 80, 90, it was looking better for people, but then it was kind of like late notice. And I think that's one thing we'll do different next time is this time I said, okay, there's a $300 level sponsorship, a $400 level, and a $500. The $300, you get to all of them, you get to have your logo on the door prize entry form and whatever material. But for $300, you get to pick like the least expensive prize and give a spiel about yourself and draw the form. For $400, you get the second most expensive prize and get to give a spiel. And then whoever did $500, you get to pick the door prize entry form for whoever wins the most expensive prize.
There you go.
And yeah, it was that was Arnell's recommendation. Yeah. It was really fun. I mean, like the energy was high. The sponsors couldn't be happier. I thought they were going to give a spiel mostly about themselves, but they all were kind of like, we love Mark. He does solar, Photon Rainbow. Like, please, we need more solar in the world. Don't go with anyone else. I was just like, oh, wow. I didn't really expect that, because I had pitched it to them as, hey, promote yourself,
Well, first of all, the title of the event is A Grateful Plateful, right? When people don't know what to say, they'll typically say something about you, right? Compliment you, you're the greatest. And you're the one that brought the event together, right? Mm-hmm. And this is a very common occurrence. Now, occasionally you'll get a sponsor who is a little bit me, right? And sometimes it even goes a little overboard to the point where you got to go and stand right next to them so they quit talking. But it's one of those where, that doesn't surprise me at all that they were bragging on you and really happy with, just kind of that's enough. And they knew the door prize entry form was doing the selling for them, which is a little magic of event mastery that a lot of people don't catch on to far later. So, all right. So you had 3 sponsors to the tune of $800, right? Mm-hmm. And right. What did the event cost you total?
About $3,000.
Okay. So $3,000, right? So you're at $2,200. Right? Out of pocket, essentially. All right. And if one of the referrals turns into a client, what's the average commission on that?
I mean, it could be $2,000 or $3,000 easily.
Okay. On average? Okay. All right. So that's a 40 times return so far, right? A possible 40 times return. And you had some sponsors. Actually, you had some business owners who were attendees who came up to you afterwards and talked to you about sponsoring, yes?
But during and after, we had the real estate guy pulled me aside and said, hey, is this something you're doing regularly? And I go, once a quarter, we're planning on doing some sort of event. And he just looked at me and says, okay, I want to commit to sponsoring all of them. So I said, yeah, okay, great, awesome. And then
and it's $1,000. I mean, come on, right? I mean, I think this 300, 400, 500 is shooting way too low,
Okay.
Yeah. I definitely, you need $1,000 level. You just do. Cool. I mean, okay. So before we even talk about the new sponsors for the next event, let's talk about the results you got for the sponsors that were there, right?
Yes.
I mean, and these are uncommon sponsors, right? A toe doctor, a dentist, and a real estate. Now, the real estate agent part is not necessarily uncommon, but, and here's why did you get those sponsors? Because of your sphere, right? And that's where most of your sponsors will come with your first event, will be people you know, they love you, they're willing to throw a little bit your way because of the value of something you've already done for them in life, right? And so what did you generate for your dentist, toe doctor, and real estate?
So we had 23 people circle yes or me for the question on real estate.
23?
23, yeah.
Okay.
15 people answer that question positively for the dentist, and 14 people for the toe doc.
All right. If I'm doing this calculation right, that's 29, 52 outgoing referrals.
Well, if you include solar, let's see, 40 plus 23.
Well,
so
those are incoming referrals. Yeah,
I see
outgoing.
Yeah.
Outgoing. I mean, so 40 in and 52 out, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, 23 for the real estate. I mean, yeah, that sponsorship for that. I mean, no offense to the real estate agent. I hope they're not listening, but it's like that sponsorship needs to go way up, you know?
Sure.
Because one of those transactions could be $10,000 and they got 23 opportunities. That's probably the most referrals they've ever received from anyone in the history of their career, Mark.
I hope so. That's awesome.
And it's just ancillary to what you were already doing.
Yeah.
The greatest lead generation methodology ever created, in my opinion. Of course, I created it, so I would say that. but it's like, this is so awesome. Like, I'm so happy for you. You know, it's like, this is great. This is fantastic.
It's like full on event mode for us, because I love getting people together. I mean, I came from a big family. We get together 5 times a year. And it's just, man, so I'm just blown away, because I'm like, okay, all I do is host this really fun event, and then me and my team get all the referrals we need for the next, until we throw the next event. Yeah. How fun is that?
Yeah. And you actually got business that night that paid for the deal, right? Is that right? I mean,
yeah. So I can't remember if it was someone Amy invited directly or someone that brought someone, but just straight up said, hey, yeah, we want to do solar. And so Amy said, okay, cool. Are you available tomorrow? And they set an appointment, and they're signed up, and that project is underway.
And done, right? So that's awesome. I mean, that's fantastic. And here's the other thing that I kind of noticed is you had 120 to 130 attendees, but you only had 73 door prizes filled out, right? So there's some room for improvement with your registration process, right? Okay. Funneling them to the registration table to get the door prize entry form filled out. And some of them were probably like, my spouse filled it out. Well, they should each fill it out, right? Of the couple, both sides of the couple. Here's what we've had too is the lady says she wants solar and the husband says no, right? Well, the thing there is that's a great conversation. By the way, if the wife says she wants solar, they usually compromise and get solar, Mark. You know how that works, right? So, I don't want solar. She wants solar. So we compromise and get solar. It's like I wanted a big dog. She wanted a small dog. So we compromised and got a small dog, right? So it's like, it's like marriage is full of compromises. Just give her what she wants. Yes, dear. All right. And then you had 4 business owners who were present who asked to sponsor future events, right? So they weren't even in your sphere necessarily. But they were there attending. And what do you think drove them to want to be sponsors at future events?
Just the overall aura and energy and just the event. So one of those was there's an HVAC girl that I really love, because you typically don't expect a girl to know so much about the HVAC stuff, and she'll just run circles around anyone. And she didn't want to host this one because it was like I only asked her, sponsor. But then I said, hey, I want you involved. All my sponsors are guys. I want to create some value for you. Do you want to be like at the table when people are getting their name tags and their gift cards? And she said, yeah, absolutely. And so she couldn't believe it, just how high energy it was, how many people came. What we ended up doing is it was a private room, and I put the registration table across from the entrance. So that way, because we were worried about people not mingling. So I said, well, let's put the registration table at the other end. So that way people are walking by each other. And she was like, Mark, this is amazing. This is amazing. And then she said, yeah, give me information on the next one. I want to sponsor the next one. Let's see. Another person was another one of Amy's invitees, who's a real estate agent. He wanted to sponsor. So we have to figure out, and I would like your opinion. I mean, can we have multiple real estate agents sponsor, or should Amy save that for one of her own events?
I think you talk to the real estate agents, right?
Okay.
If they're okay with it, you're okay with it. And I think you go to your original first, right?
Okay.
The other part of it too is they may work different areas of town, right?
Sure.
Or have different niches. So you could have one that's residential, one that's commercial very easily. You could have one that's, residential on the west side of town and the other one's on the east side of town, or north south, however it works.
Sure.
So I think there's a conversation to be had there, and whatever delivers the most punch, so to speak.
Okay.
The other thing that's going to do with your first sponsor is it's going to reconfirm that they should be sponsoring this event and that you should raise the price for their sponsorship. So
Right. Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
Charity wise, what'd you do charity wise?
So same meeting when we came up with the name. I've always had a big heart for homeless people, and so I said, all right, well, let's not do only homeless. Let's focus on like homeless children and homeless families. So I just Googled. It was funny because we picked this charity called Cuidando los Niños, and it turns out that it's the charity that my wife already donates all of our stuff to, coincidentally. So we already know them. We know they do good work, and they have a really multifaceted approach because they do early childhood education. They help parents try to get back in the workforce. They help with housing. They help with food. They have daycare. They even have temporary housing at their location. It's just like such a full-fledged effort to try to keep people off the streets and get them back on their feet. So it was awesome. They showed up. And I said, can you guys stick around until we do the door prize? They said, absolutely. We even had someone who they brought a check for them. And I said, oh, they're over there. Do you want to give it to them? And she goes, no, you can go give the check to them. And I hand them the check. And she goes, who can you introduce me? We want to say thank you. And I said, absolutely. Come over here. And so she said, oh my God, your donation means so much to us. It goes so far. This is what we do. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So it was awesome. I think it was a really cool charity.
Did you do money only for the charity, or did you also collect some type of items?
We just did money only this time.
Okay.
I didn't really, I thought it was kind of extra logistics to collect items, although now I think that would be helpful.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were literally, people were walking up to them and saying, we want to donate. How do we do it? And so people were like they were walking people through finding the website on the phone and going to the donation link and just taking donations right then and there.
That's awesome. Good for them for having a system for that, right?
Right.
Instead of telling them, they walk away and maybe never donate, right?
Right.
So I love that. And I will tell you that a secret to success with events a lot of times is having items as well. People tend to donate items faster than they do money. Blankets, coats, and that's where you go to Los Niños and you ask, what could you guys really use? I mean, a lot of times bedding material, pillows and sheets and comforters and blankets, especially blankets, that just seems to be something that's pretty easy to donate and pretty easy to collect. And if you have a table and at first it's only got one or two blankets, and then at the end you've got 50 there, I have to tell you that that's one of the coolest experiences I've had. I've been to parties where we did dog stuff, and then somebody pulled up in a semi or a half semi with a multiple pallets of dog food piled up.
Oh,
right.
Geez.
And
Nice.
they're set for a year for dog food,
That's awesome.
So it's easier to donate things sometimes than it is money. So
Okay.
love this is fantastic. So what was the biggest lesson that you learned from your event?
I think for me, just realizing that you could generate so many leads from an event. Like at first I didn't really get it. I thought it was kind of all about the one-on-one ambassadors, but it makes so much sense because you only have so much time in the day to do one-on-ones. But if you get 100 people, 200 people, then, and you have people giving referrals, that. And for me, a big thing I've had to learn is getting help. Utilizing my team. You can't do it all on your own, So yeah, and then actually I asked my team, so if I can share, Shane said, if you build it, they will come. Providing people an opportunity to hang out and get free things feels good. When you are able to influence people to feel good, they associate a good feeling with you and your business or product. When people see our name, it reminds them of the good feelings. Events are not rocket science. Practice makes perfect. People want to support good local business. And Amy said, it's much easier than it seems like it would be to do something nice for people in a big way, and they appreciate it so much more than you'd think they would. Also, I have a lot more people who are willing to show up and support me than I originally expected.
And that's from a teammate.
Those
You
are
know,
my teammates,
you
yeah.
already knew a lot of that from Event Mastery. She came to awareness of it, you know.
Yeah.
And there's nothing like discovering something, you know, for the first time. So that's beautiful. What are you going to do different next time other than get help?
Organizing it better, starting sooner, having a more organized event and follow up and confirmation sequence. Because I think I could double that attendance, honestly, if I was more organized with it.
But it
A lot
was
of
your
people,
first event. I think people
yeah,
need to, like, first of all, give yourself some grace. And second
thank
of
you.
all, I think people need to realize that this was your first event. So, of course,
Yeah,
it's going to be a little clunky. It's going to be a little disorganized. There's going to be, you know, maybe a little more hope than faith with the first one. The nice thing is you have more faith than hope with the second one, usually,
right.
right?
Yeah. And thank you for the acronyms with everything that makes all your lessons easy to remember. Because learn, implement, fail, evaluate. Right. So it's
That's
like
right. Life.
the first one's not going to be easy. It's just do it, and then you have all this experience to build off of.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was fun. I think a lot of the feedback was like people weren't really okay. What's this all about? Some people were like, "Oh, I didn't know it was a charity event." I'm like, "Well, it's not." So,
Hmm.
because I didn't really get on the microphone until about 10 till 6 because we had told people we were going to draw prizes, but
Yeah.
people were still coming in. And so I said, hey, people are still coming. We're going to give them another like 15 minutes or whatever to get their food and come back. So I think just being more clear about like the agenda and what to expect.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to promote us really,
Yeah.
but Arnell and my team convinced us that it's totally okay to say, hey, we're Photon Rainbow. We appreciate you being here. We're here to celebrate and give thanks to the community. We want to be your local go-to source for all things solar. Have fun. Talk to you soon. Whatever.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do, right? And celebrate quarterly, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I love it. That's you know, any like there's a lot of people who listen or watch Referrals podcast who are still sitting on the sidelines when it comes to doing events. What
Mm-hmm.
recommendation or words of wisdom do you have for those that haven't done their first event yet?
I'd say have fun with it. And if you're not extrovert or outgoing or something, like find someone who likes to do that kind of thing, because me and everyone on my team were just so on. I mean, we talked about it. We thought maybe, okay, let's try to get 25 and we have 130. Like it was fun. And I don't if events were in the book, the 7L book, not the book, if the events were in 7L, it didn't really hit me as, hey, this is like the main strategy. But now I'm
It's
like, oh,
not. It's
yeah,
not.
okay,
But it is for you, right? I mean, it's you know,
sure,
we have three real, you know, if you want to call it the legs on a stool, right? Three-legged
sure,
stool. We've got self-mastery, which, you know, the rituals, time management, you know, take care of yourself first, right? Fly, first love yourself. And
yep,
then we have relationship mastery, which is one-to-one, and your buyer's consultations, your phone calls, your one-to-ones, your networking, that kind of thing, which is
mm-hmm.
relationship mastery. And that's really the heart and soul of 7L. And
Okay,
then you have the third, which is the one-to-many strategy, which is event mastery, which is all about your YAPs, your yearly appreciation plan, and your yearly ambassador program, and that kind of thing. So under self mastery, it's your growth plan, and then under relationship mastery, it's your communication plan, and then underneath event mastery, it's your yearly appreciation plan and your yearly ambassador plan, and all of it fits under referral mastery. The
yeah,
thing about 7L is there was a lot of self help books out. There still are, And I felt like that was like a place that people are kind of taken care of, right?
Yeah.
And then on the event side, it's still burgeoning and kind of coming out. And I had to decide, do I write event mastery or do I write a relationship mastery? And I just felt like the biggest target, you need to really know how to build here's the thing, you get 40 leads, referrals from an event. Do you know what to do with them next, right? So all roads lead to one-to-one. So I felt like I had to write 7L first. And of course, the next one will be Tribe of Trust, which is the event mastery system, right?
Yeah.
And how to build your tribe of trust.
Yeah.
But the way that you came to it, it just made sense you kind of went through self-mastery some, and then you went right to coaching, which is, up here, you started here. And then event mastery is kind of for, the coaching clientele. So
yeah,
it's all good. Now you build self-mastery and relationship mastery behind it, and do your appointments, like your consultation that Amy went on. I have no idea what it's like, but I can guarantee you with our work, we can make it more robust and more referral generating for you.
I believe it. Yeah. I think you should know too. So when I found 7L on Amazon, I had the guy that was doing like my website stuff and my SEO. He was kind of my business coach too. And I told him, hey, I'm going to sign up with this coaching. And he was like, oh, well, did you shop around? And I was like, oh, no. And he was like, well, you should look at other kind of like referral systems. And so I was like, all right, fine, I will. And so I found maybe like 3 other people that like kind of looked like maybe they knew what they were doing or maybe not. But I stuck with you guys because you guys struck me as having the proper balance of the right knowledge, the right values, and the right level of fun. I mean, I'm the chief happiness officer, but still like executing it, like getting real results. And so I was like, well, I think these guys really line up with like the culture and my heart and just what I'm looking to do. And so I just stuck with you guys, and I'm still with you guys. And I want to do this for my whole team. When it's going to kind of be my angle to recruit people from other companies is, hey, we will teach you to generate all the business you need from referrals, from relationships, from events.
Love it. I love it. You're changing the solar industry. You really are. The way that lead generation has been done. I don't know, like, we've gone into a lot of industries, but solar is not one that we've done a lot with. So I love what you've done. I mean, Photon Rainbow, like you should be leading us into this new generation of lead generation and referral generation. And I'm telling you, I'm so excited about the future. I'm really, really proud of what you've achieved already. And, looking forward to what's next, and we're gonna have to get an update from you in 6 months or 9 months and tell us where you're at. But first and foremost, and I just want to say thank you so much for being our guest today on Referrals Podcast. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you for all your work, man. It's literally changing my life, Michael. So thank you.
My pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap on our Referrals Podcast episode today. I'm hoping that you got 1, 2, or 3 things that you need to do. If not, one thing you need to do is go to joingengen.com. Make sure you join the Generosity Generation. It's a huge referral network of the best professionals in the world. And don't join gengenmastermind.com so you can come to our free mastermind. GenGen Mastermind is the first Thursday of the month at 1 o'clock Eastern. gengenmastermind.com. We're going to have a blast with it. It's spring break for a lot of people, so I may be tanner than normal at that event, but I'll be there or be square. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for being a listener and viewer for this episode. Please rate it and review it. If you haven't subscribed yet, we invite you to subscribe. Thank you so much. Have a great one. We'll see you on the next episode of Referrals Podcast.